Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to today's Advisicon Academy training. My name is Amanda Carlson, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at Advisicon. We are a group of authors, teachers, consultants, and technologists offering training in the Microsoft technologies, project management, and methodology. With attending any of our training sessions, we offer PDUs as we are a registered education provider with the Project Management Institute. At the close of today's session, I will give some instructions on how to claim your PDUs and how to contact Advisicon for any questions you may have. Now, before we get started, I'd like to go over a few things so you know how to participate in today's event. Please review the control panel that should be on the top right of your screen. The audience is muted during this session, so in order to ask questions, you will need to submit them in the questions window of the control panel. This webinar will be recorded and uploaded on the Advisicon YouTube channel for those who could not attend today's session live. Please note that any questions or comments submitted will not be displayed in the recording, nor will any of your personal information be shared. And it's now my pleasure to introduce today's instructor, David Lee, one of Advisicon's amazing development advisors. So without further ado, I will hand this over and we can get started.
Hello, as Amanda said, my name is David Lee. I am a development advisor here at Advisicon. That means I help design and build custom solutions for our clients. Using technology to solve business problems and create more efficient workflow is the best part of my day, and I am genuinely excited to share a little piece of that with you today as I explain some of the tools we use to help create business applications that drive productivity. So for the next few minutes, I will give a brief overview of what the Power Platform is, how it allows you to connect to a large variety of data sources and applications, and then we will get to the fun part where we will build a sample application together. So let's jump right in. The Power Platform is a collection of 3 of Microsoft's products: Power Automate, which was previously called Flow, Power BI, and PowerApps. The combination of these 3 tools allows businesses to work with data from many different sources and give them the ability to quickly create business applications that tie their systems and data together. The Power Platform sits atop the Common Data Service, which is a common platform for sharing data between systems using data connectors. More than likely, whatever data sources you're currently using have a pre-built data connector ready to go, making it simple to get your data into the Power Platform. The amount of data we capture and manage is greater than ever, and getting meaningful insights from it is critical to business needs. And the Power Platform delivers that capability. So let's talk briefly about each of these products in a little more detail. Power Automate allows you to automate repetitive tasks and manage the flow of work. One example would be sending an email to somebody every time a certain type of document was added to a SharePoint list. Power BI allows you to create visuals from a variety of data sources to get insights and perform analysis on your data. This is great for building dashboards for real-time visibility into your company's data. And PowerApps is a low-code custom application development platform which can be used to quickly create apps through a point-and-click interface. That's where we're going to focus today. I'll be walking you through building a simple time-off request application. So those connectors we talked about, there are existing connectors for all of the Office 365 applications like Excel, Planner, Project, SharePoint, Teams, just to name a few. On top of that, new connectors are being built constantly for just about everything you can imagine. Let's hop over to the web and we will take a quick look. So you can see here they've got popular connectors for Outlook, OneDrive, SharePoint. There's recently added connectors, which this list is constantly changing, frequently updated. And I'm just going to kind of quickly scroll, just give you an idea. Whatever you're using, it's probably in here. Salesforce, we just went past. So it's all in here. Now, back to PowerPoint. There we go. So now we are going to jump into a quick demo and actually build a Power App, something very similar to what I've got pictured here. I'm going to show you how to build a simple time off request app that employees can access from computers, phones, and tablets to request time off. When they submit the request, we're going to have it send an email to somebody for the next steps. Now we'll be keeping this version simple, but we could ultimately build in approval workflows, automatically add entries onto a group calendar, or entries into a SharePoint list, just to give you a few ideas of how much more we could do with this. So I am going to bring up, this is where we will log into PowerApps. That will bring us to our home page. I'm just going to go down here to create. We're going to start with a blank Canvas app for right now. There are some other options here that we're not going to get into today. All right, so we are just going to call this my time off request app. Let's go ahead and make it fit the phone form factor, just because that'll look the best that'll work the best to use across all three. Takes just a minute to get that built. So, and we have our app is here. We've got, I'll take a quick look at kind of the environment here. So we've got menus across the top for file, home, insert. This is where we're going to be able to add labels, different types of buttons, drop-down menus, checkboxes, whatever we need to add. For this example, we're not going to get into galleries, data tables, forms. These are all useful for interacting with existing data and either displaying it or being able to edit data from a SharePoint list, for example. And then there are a lot of built-in icons for all of your typical operations that you would want to have buttons or icons for. View is where we'd be able to look at different data sources we may want to connect to, media for inserting images. Collections and variables are ways of storing data within the app itself, and then we can use our various data connectors to push that data out if we wanted to save it to a database or something like that. And in the action menu, we have stuff for interacting with collections here, things that we want to do when the app starts or when it goes away, or the screen rather. And then this is we have connections here to work with Power Automate. So if we wanted to kick off a workflow, we would be able to do that from here. We're not going to use some of those more advanced pieces today. We are going to stick with fairly straightforward. So I'm just going to add a label. I just click it and it adds a label on here. And this is going to be our title. So time off request for. Now I'm going to come up here into this function bar because I want to show you a little powerful thing we can do. This is just combining this with something else. And we have user data inside here. So this is going to pull the full name of the current user and add it to the end of this sentence, which now we've got a nice little title there. And let's give it a little border. We can change font sizes and everything from this properties panel over here. We can make it bold. We can center it. All of your typical editing operations are available there. Now we need some date inputs. We want a date picker. So we've got a calendar control that is built in. I'm gonna make that a little smaller because we're gonna want room for 2 of them. I'm gonna add another label. You can see these lines that show, that snaps to that line, so I can make things exactly the same size. I just double click inside there, and this is going to be our from date. Now I'm gonna need this exact same thing again, so we can just grab all of that and copy and paste. And now I've got 2 of them. And this one is going to be 2. Now, one other thing, we didn't look at this side navigation bar earlier. This is probably the most useful version of it, is this tree view. You can see this gives me the ability to interface with my application level, each individual screen. If we had more than one screen, I would have multiple screens here. And then these are each of my labels. And you can see that our date pickers are called date picker 1 and date picker 1_1, which aren't very helpful. So I'm going to rename this one as our 2 date picker. We're going to rename this one from date picker. And it'll be a little clearer later on why I wanted those with a more descriptive name. So now we want, we're going to add a drop-down menu here so that our employee can tell us what type of absence this is going to be. Why are they not working today? We'll get another label down here, type of absence. And now for the drop-down here, you can see this, there's a lot of different properties we can change in here. The one we're interested in right now is called items. That is going to tell us what items fill up this, this drop-down menu. Now we can connect this to a data source. If we wanted to, you could connect it to a SQL database and pull back a list of columns there and have values from that. Or you can have a collection built internally inside the Power App. Or in this case, since we're trying to keep this simple, I'm just going to build a table inside here because we only need a couple values. So I like to do a blank value just so that when the form is initially opened, or when the app is opened, it doesn't show a value in there, it'll show a blank. And I'm just separating these by commas with quotation marks around each individual value. So the first one, we're gonna have sick time, then we're gonna have vacation, and hopefully you don't have to do this, but if we have to take some unpaid time off, that's gonna be one of our other options. So now this is a good time to take a quick look and see what these controls are doing. So I've got 2 ways I can sort of test out my functionality. If I hold down the Alt key while I'm on this, I can click on my drop down and actually see it working. As soon as I let go of the Alt key, I lose that. So the other way we can do this and look at everything is this preview button up here. So I go into preview mode, and now I can see that my date pickers are working. And I can see that my drop down is working. So everything looks like it's working just fine. So we are going to continue on. I am going to move that up just a little bit so we have some more room. Because now we need to add one more text box. Let's go over here to input, text input. And we're going to want a label for that guy as well. And this is going to be the reason for our absence. This is where we might want a little extra room in this text box. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. But you can see it's still only got one line of text. We just made it bigger. So if I look over here in the properties, I can see that I can change the mode from a single line to a multi-line. And now I will be able to type a lot of text in here. Okay. Okay, and now we need a button, right? We want to be able to submit this thing. So that is all the data we're going to put in here. So now I'm going to add a button. We're going to call this submit request. And now in order to make that button do something, it automatically selects it for me because PowerApps is pretty intuitive as far as what you probably want to do next. It knows that we want to do something when we click that button. So right now it's just set to false, which means it's not doing anything when we click it. But what I want to do is I want to send an email when I click that button. So before we can do that, I'm going to do a couple of quick things here. One, I'm going to put, this is going to be just a little preview for us. I need a text input. Just going to make another one of these. It is actually only single line, I think, but we'll do that. And now what I can do from, so when we send an email, we're going to want something in the body of the email, right? Whoever is receiving that email needs to know who's requesting time off, why they're requesting time off, and the dates. So just like we did up here with this, this connector, this and, we are going to build a little string down here for, actually we're going to start with my name. And I can just pull that. As soon as I add the dot, go back and show that again. After I add a dot after something that has properties attached to it, it pulls up a list. So I can go and get my name that way. And I need to connect a little intermediate string here, is requesting time off from, and then, now this is where I said I gave that date picker a name for a reason, because I start typing to date, and I've got my to date picker dot selected date, and that is going to fill that in down here. Now, so that was our from. Now we need, oops, I should have done from first. So now we've got from to, and using, and then we did not give our drop-down menu a name, so it is still called drop-down 1. Depending on the size of your application, you might want to give things a more meaningful name so it's easier to find them. We only have one drop-down, so it's not too difficult. Now with the drop-down menu, I do have to go one step farther. I've got selected text, but there's also this value property, and that is what actually is going to bring up sick. Sick leave. Because, and there are options for doing a fancier formatted email using HTML, which would probably be a better solution. But again, I wanted to keep this one fairly simple. And what have I, oh, I forgot an and in there. And now we want to add in our reason, which I forgot to give that a name. It is text input 1. So we come back here, text input 1, text. So now we have built this little preview so we can see what our email would look like, or what the body of our email would look like. So now I can come up to, actually first I need a connector. So we can go to our data sources here. Now I'm going to need to connect to Office 365 Outlook, which I'm going to just go ahead and add a new one, show you how that works. It's going to take me over here. I just click connect and show you how easy this is. PowerApps is doing all the work. And now it added a new one here. I already had one, but that's all it takes to add that connection. We're already signed in, so it takes us to that. Now that I have this, it shows it in my app. Why do I have 2 of them? I just need one. So on this submit request button, now I've selected that. We're on our on select property. So when we click that button, we want to pull up our Office 365 Outlook. And one of these is going to say send email. You can see there's a lot of different options that are already built into this connector. But in this case, we just want to send an email. It gives us a little hint up here. It says who do we want to send it to, what is the subject, and what is the body. We're just going to separate each one of those with a comma. So I'm just going to send this to myself for right now. And I'm going to want quotations around that. Our subject is going to be time off request. And our body, now I could either take all of this and type it in there again, or since I've already put that in here, I can actually use this other text box, which is text input 2. Text. And then we close out the parenthesis, and that should work. So I'm going to click submit request. I'm going to open my email and give it just a moment. And there we go. You can see that I got a subject time off request, David Lee requesting time off, and all of our data is there. So that is a very simple example of how we can, just in a few minutes, build a very simple application. Now, obviously we don't want, this looks a little ugly, but it's sure handy while we're developing it. So what I'm going to do is, of these other properties in here, there is one called visible. And I'm just going to say that's not visible. So now it's still there. It's still doing all the work. We're still connecting to it here to pull the data from it. And if I go ahead and send that again, I will get another email. Yep, and there it is, same email. So nice and easy. So that is our very simple application. Looks like I have a few minutes left. Amanda, do we have any questions on the line?
Well, let's take a look. I've got one here. It says, can I share the app with external users? And if yes, how do I do that?
Okay, that's a good question. Typically, Canvas apps are only used internally. They're shared within your company. there is some capability to share a Canvas app with guests if they are a guest of your tenant. And there is a process for that. Microsoft has instructions on how to do that. If someone's interested in that, we can catch up with you and get a link to that process, or we can help walk you through it. However, PowerApps did recently introduce something called portals, which was back here, this new portal. We can create a portal app as well. And that is pretty much an external facing website that we create through that same point and click interface, which allows us to basically build something that's customer facing or externally facing. So that is an option, and we can help you out with those too. Any other questions?
I got one here. It says, can multiple users open/edit the same app simultaneously?
Yeah, you can multiple. So back to our time off request app here. If we had published this and shared it out to our organization, hundreds of people could be opening it and using it all at the same time. We're not connected to any kind of a data source. We're just sending emails, and it sends that email through your own personal Outlook. So that is not going to cause any kind of a problem. If we were connected to a data source, let's just cover that as well. If this were connecting to a SQL database or something, and we were able to edit, add, edit, create, if we are editing the same item in a database, if we try to do that, one of the users is going to get an error message saying that record is locked. So it won't blow up, but it will stop you from trying to edit the same record at the same time. So,
Great.
Anything else?
Yeah, I've got another one here. It says, where do colleagues find all apps of my company?
Okay. Oops. So when you're on your home screen here, there is a list of apps, and when these are published, you would share them. And then I am able to type in, I think I can do this to an entire group. So I can say just Advisicon Inc. I can share it with their entire Advisicon US. I can share it with individual users. So if we just want an app for some people on our team, I could do that. So there's a lot of flexibility with how you share it. And then once it's shared, people can come in here to find them, or I will show you how we have implemented, because we actually have a more robust version of this time off application that we use. And this is how we have it in SharePoint right now. So it is available in our internal SharePoint, or you can also download an app for your phone that will allow you to log into PowerApps, and then you can connect to all of your organization's PowerApps through that.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we are out of time. So if you did submit a question and we haven't had a chance to answer it, we will email you directly and try to follow up on an answer for you. And we thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. We welcome your questions and feedback, and for more information, you can email us at contact@advisicon.com. Once you exit today's webinar, you will receive a survey on this presentation, and you will need to complete and submit that survey in order to receive your PDUs. From there, you will receive a follow-up email within 2 business days with your PDU information. If you're watching this recording on YouTube or another social media platform, please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And on behalf of Advisicon, David, and myself, we thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you participate in future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.